Alright, so what's going on, guys? So today we're going over what you should be putting in your range bag. So a lot of new shooters go out, buy the gun, buy some ammo, and then wonder, what do I actually need when I'm going to the range for the first time? Or more specifically, once I'm going alone for the first time, what should I be bringing? So this is a rather elaborate bag compared to what most people will actually need. This is kind of tailor fit to how I should go to the range and what I do specifically, but it gives you a lot of ideas of what you will need, what you won't need, and then maybe some ideas of how you can tweak your bag. So starting on the outside, the first thing you're going to see is the trauma pack attached to the strap. I do have a dedicated review to this medical kit. One thing you want to keep in mind is anytime you go into the range, there is a possibility there will be an accident, and you want to have your basic medical equipment so you can take care of that if something does happen. So you want to have the basics: quick clot, tourniquet, things like that. Once you move that aside, we're going to move into the front pouch. Now, this actually is not something I set up for this review. This is actually a on-the-fly how my range bag looks right now. This is how it looked when I got home from the range last time I went. So again, this is actually one of the locks I leave on here. If you do need to, per your state's requirements, make sure you do have appropriate locking mechanisms in place. I do have some of those left off at the moment for this video. So once we jump in, first thing is I do have a vest here. This is actually a North Face vest that I do use for IDPA. Works as a concealment garment, which is required for the competition. Moving inside, we do have a mag pouch. This one's actually just a paddle pouch from Phobos, which I'm not a big fan of, but it does work, and the main reason I do like it is where it does have a squared off bottom. It is a lot more adaptable to older and newer Glock mags, so you can use the U-notch, the square notch, or the hexagonal notch, which makes things a lot more simple when you're on the line. You don't need to worry about which mag you have and if it fits your kayaks or not. Next up, we do have a little bit of leftover ammo that I didn't make it through. This is just the crappy toolless steel case stuff that it works. It's a little less accurate, a little more dirty, but for $7 a box, you can't really beat it. Big surprise here, random pack of peanuts, because when you're at the range for a while, you will go through a lot of food and you will go through a lot of snacks as well. And that's one thing I do like about this bag, where it does have the water bottle pouch on the side here. In the second pouch, we have all of the cardboard pasters, which these have seen better days and didn't really make it through the bag that well, but what these are for is after you've finished a round shooting a specific target, you can peel one of these off, stick it over the bullet hole, and you're actually ready to keep shooting. You can see where you actually hit on following stages. Next up, we have the orange dots. This is going to be more focused towards longer range shooting than it is going to be for IDPA. This is good if you're shooting at, say, 100 yards and you're shooting iron sights. You can put one of these orange dots on the center of one of your targets, and you can more easily see what you're shooting at and identify the center of your target rather than kind of guessing where you should be aiming on that paper if you would just have a blank white piece of paper there. One thing I do always leave in here is just a basic ball cap. This one I think I actually got free with the bag. Yep, this one is from LA Police Gear, so that's actually where I bought this bag, which is a 511 range ready bag. One thing you'll find is if you shoot indoor ranges a lot, if there's a wooden wall or any type of wall next to you, you will find brass bouncing off the wall and coming back. And then if you do have a brim on your hat, that can help prevent a lot of that from hitting you in the face. Again, a little more snacks. The other thing I got in here is just random ammo that's fallen out of different boxes. This is actually 7.62 54R, what you typically think for a Mosin Nagant. And then this, I actually don't even know why this is in here. This is one of those really crappy Uncle Mike's pocket holsters. I think the only reason I had this in here was to show what a crappy holster looks like for a recent class I did. But yeah, I don't know why else that would have been in here. So, like I said, this is not something I staged for this video. This is just how my bag looks as of today. So once you take out the main pouch, that's great for an ammo carrier, things like that. I do leave a few other things in here. So I do leave a stack of targets at the bottom. I'm actually getting a little bit low at the moment, but that's something everyone always forgets is targets. And even though it adds a little extra weight to your range bag, I like to leave a decent stack in there because it prevents getting to the range to realize no one has targets. Same thing, stapler, which as much as I hate to admit it, these weird plastic forward style staplers, they work really well because for a longest time I had one of the old classic metal arrow ones. It constantly jammed. This thing's been running great. That I actually bought on the whim when my other one broke on me and I needed a stapler on the fly. So, hate to admit it, but they do work well. Let's pack all the stuff back in here real quick. As I'm sure you can tell, I'm not that particular about making sure everything's nice and organized in their given pouches in the center here. The middle is more of just a dump all for whatever I'm trying to pack that day. Stepping over to here on the close side to us, we have the mag pouch. So this one is designed to have a, 8 different mag pouches, and I do leave the mags for whatever gun I'm shooting that particular day. I usually only bring 3 or 5 depending on what I'm doing that day. I just tailor that to your shooting. Most people, if you're just doing to a square range, just trying to put holes in paper, 1 or 2 is more than sufficient. Now this one I actually have in here, but I really need to take it out, and because frankly it's just taking up extra weight and I don't really ever find myself using it. What this is actually is a bullet puller. So what happens is sometimes you'll get a bad round, which actually I had one in my bag from the last time I went to the range, but that is a factory loaded Winchester white box round that I actually found in a box. So as you can tell here, the side of the bullet actually pressed over the side of the casing, completely destroyed the bullet, and obviously this is not something that I can fire. So what I would do in this situation, if I were to actually use this, you use this bullet puller, you have different size dies that fit in the back here, you put the bullet in there, take this, hit it on a hard surface, and that pulls the bullet out, so that way you can strip out the powder, the projectile, and then you'll have a primed casing just sitting at the back. Now, I've had that in there for a long time. I've used it actually at the range maybe 2 times in that time period, and it's really just not worth keeping in there. So I think that's something I'm going to be taking out and leaving out of here. So most people will never have a need for that. That's more of a reloading supply that people will use at home or wherever they choose to reload their ammo. On the front pouch here, this one's a little less frequently used. This is more maintenance than just random tools and stuff. So I always do keep a bottle of gun oil. This is just the Hops Elite. Good stuff you can get at Walmart, dirt cheap, usually a couple bucks. Because it's always going to be, if you're having some weird issue with the gun, half the time you can oil it and solve the problem. Next up, we do have one of those cheap crap gun tools you usually find in the clearance section. Again, I hate to admit it, but it does work. I mean, you have some basic choke tube screws here. You do have a crappy knife on there, a couple screwdrivers, a couple hex bits, a couple Allen keys, and you actually run this as a screwdriver as well, which it has come in handy a few times, and it's been nice to have on the spot. Just a rag, wipe things down. Good size Sharpie. I do mark all my mags with my initials as a minimum. Same thing with like my earmuffs, things like that, because a lot of people have the same gear. You want to mark your stuff, and frankly, just having a Sharpie at the range has always come in handy. I don't use this one too much, but gun grease. So if you're running something like an AK, they'll typically run better with grease rather than oil. So it's good to have that as well. Next up, we do have some spare batteries. These ones are Surefires for my Surefire G2X Pro, which I believe I've done a review on that as well. Going along with the Sharpie, we do have a random pen in there. And finally, a spare battery for my, what does this go to? This is for my Aimpoint Comp M2. So that's all we have in this one. This one's not one that I go into on a regular basis that heavily. It's more of those random one-off things. So if you do have a electronic optic, it is a good idea to keep a spare battery in there because they'll die on you in the worst possible times. And what I should actually do is put some spare batteries for my electronic earmuffs in there because I need to replace those more often than I would think. And the last thing I want is one of those to go on me when I don't have spare batteries and really need them. Next up in this off pouch here, we do have a large contractor bag, which that's more of one of those things that I've actually never used from this bag, but it's good to keep on my hand because the last thing you want to do is go to a range and just leave a big mess behind yourself. And it kind of is those situations where it's carry out what you carry in and leave it cleaner than when you started. So have a way to clean up after yourself. Again, a few more rags here. Not much in this pouch. We do have the extra dies for the bullet puller, so that's actually going to be getting taken out as well. And then the masking tape. This is a cheaper alternative to those pasters you saw in the beginning, so you use this, pull off a little piece, put it over your bullet holes, and you can keep shooting that same target. And it just keeps things a lot cheaper because those pasters get expensive quick. More of the just cheap way of doing things. Turning things around here, moving to the front pouch, and these are actually going for the last two. So this one is going through the hearing protection pouch, which I do keep two full-size pairs of earmuffs, one standard, one electronic. For these I have the Peltor shotgunners, which I freaking love these ones for non-electronic, and then the Howard Light Impact Sports. These are my electronics. These have been awesome. Can't recommend them highly enough. They're usually like 45 bucks on Amazon. The reason I carry two is because I'm usually going with newer shooters or someone that comes unprepared, for lack of a better way of putting it. Same reason I have the earmuffs, or earplugs I should say. You can get these for like 10 bucks for a 50 pack and a nice hard case here. And that's good if you're going to be shooting something with a loud muzzle brake. And that's actually going to work very well because if you have the electronic muffs, what you can do is run earplugs and then the electronic earmuffs over them. And you'll still be able to hear a steel target ping at 100 yards because it actually amplifies enough of those quiet sounds that you can still hear it, but it takes out that sting of a really loud muzzle brake. And it's going to protect your hearing in the long run. For just shooting handguns or 22 or something like that, I wouldn't worry about running doubles. That's more when you have a very loud caliber or muzzle brake. Finally, the last pouch here, we do keep an extra set of iPro in here. These ones are just regular 3M safety glasses, nothing special. If you are going to be doing this on a regular basis, I do recommend getting a nice set of dedicated shooting glasses, not just the cheapos like these. But these are good if you're going to be handing it to someone else or you're using it with someone who might not take the best care of it. For the stapler we saw inside, I do have a plano case here to fill all the staples. Now this is actually held up a lot better. You notice this, probably you can see it in the camera here, there's a lot of random broken staples in the bottom. When you run just the cardboard box, it is 10 times worse than that. So this is actually the first box of staples I've run in one of these hard containers. I've been very impressed with how well they've held up over time. And then finally, just a pack of thumbtacks. Again, when you're putting up all your targets, you want to have something to secure it because most ranges don't supply that unless you're shooting a electronic indoor range where everything's all just clipped in place and then it's all motorized. But for your shooting outdoors, if you have wooden backstops for your shooting ranges, it's nice to have a way to secure your targets. So that is everything that I keep in my bag right now. The only thing I don't think I mentioned yet was the brass bag that is attached to the side. It does have a mesh pouch at the bottom so you can dump out any dirt that does collect. And that's going to be when you're done for the day. If you do keep your brass, this is a nice easy way to do it. And not only cleans up the mess, but if you do reload or plan to reload, it's an easy way to take that all home with you. So again, this is really just an overview of what might be useful for you guys, and it's what I keep in my range bag on a regular basis. So if you have any questions, please put it in the comment section below. And as always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good one, guys.